Five-star defensive end Omari Abor has dropped his top 10, and this is really exciting because we see yet another recruiting battle that's going to involve the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Texas Longhorns, the Oklahoma Sooners, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and the USC Trojans, and I cannot wait to get into it. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you, so hop down to the comments and let me know where you would like to see Omari Abor ultimately play college football. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification because I do constant college football content, and I'm on my push to 5,000 subscribers in my first year, and I would love to have you along for that journey. And if you enjoy the content, be sure to like and comment down below because those interactions go a long ways. But with all that being said, let's talk Abor's top 10. And first and foremost, we have OU, USC, LSU, A&M, Missouri, Georgia, Arizona State, Alabama, Ohio State, and Texas, and a fairly normal top 10. And Oklahoma fans, you'll remember when I did the video highlighting your incredibly stacked recruiting weekend, Abor was only a 4-star. He has since moved into 5-star range, and I think there's no better place to start than for Oklahoma. That's where 24/7 has him crystal balled, and there was a phenomenal article by Steve Wiltfong really breaking down the process of Abor. And for Oklahoma, he talked about how OU is a dream school. He loves what Coach Jamar Cain is doing, especially with the end position. He's very familiar with the Oklahoma Sooners. He's always really loved the Sooners growing up, watching them play, and that's been a staple within his life. Anytime you hear that, you gotta love what that means. You have to love the prospect of that, especially when you're going to be able to get them on campus around other incredibly talented individuals. But it doesn't just end there. And usually when you hear a kid say that's my dream school, that's a fairly good indication that it's a safe bet that's where he's going. And though I do think OU is in a good position to maybe the best position, that doesn't mean that this is even close to being over. USC, another institution very, very hot on the trail. And I feel like we keep talking about this, that USC is coming in this recruiting trail very, very hot. They're going to be able to get a lot of guys, and they're building something over there. And if they can put the results on the field, it is going to be incredibly scary. But the interesting thing he said about USC really wasn't about the football program, though he had some great things to say about the football program. This is an incredibly cognizant young man. He talked about how the program he's most interested in studying in college football, which would be broadcast and specifically sport broadcast, the USC program is number one for that. And that's something that he feels like he could be set up for a lot of success for, especially if his journey to the NFL didn't work out. Going to USC, he said, offers him the best success chances, not only at getting to the NFL, although he didn't specifically say USC was the best place to get him to the NFL, but you get my point. USC has an NFL history, so not only does it offer him the NFL opportunity, but it also offers him the media market of LA and the number one program for sport broadcasting, which is what he wants to do. And that's something he said he's very interested in. Hearing him say that was really, really intriguing. And not only because of that, because of the USC turnaround that we're seeing, but he also talked about being very close to Corey Foreman. And when Corey Foreman ultimately committed to USC, he became very interested and really started looking into it, which is when he said he found out that their broadcasting program was so highly ranked. But USC isn't the only one. A&M, he talked about loving what Coach Terry Price was doing there, loving the history of Myles Garrett, Von Miller, A&M, being very proficient in defense, having good edge rushers in the NFL, and having great recruiting. And it's an SEC school. I think he's fairly comfortable no matter where he goes because it's close to home. It's in-state. And another in-state school, the Texas Longhorns. Now, though the Wiltfong article didn't really contain much information about the Texas Longhorns, this is what I will say. Given his athleticism, having Coach K at Texas, the new defensive coordinator, really be able to work with this kid could be incredibly intriguing as to what his upside could be. Coach K really likes to do a lot of interesting things with his defensive ends, with his outside linebackers, his jack positions, and seeing someone like Abor in that system could be a ton of fun to watch. Ohio State is a program, anytime we hear these defensive front guys talk about, we know how real it is. Larry Johnson does it at the highest degree continually, and I feel like I'm always naming him, much like I'm always naming Coach Corey Raymond on the defensive backfield side, because that is what the respect he garners. He talked about Ohio State being able to develop him into a entirely another level when it comes to football. And it's interesting because out of all the institutions he talked about, the Ohio State he really singled out as being able to take him to another level. And I shouldn't say single out, because he actually applied that same praise to the Alabama Crimson Tide, saying the Alabama Crimson Tide, like Ohio State, could take him to an entirely new level as far as his football ability, the ability they have to develop players. Not only that, he likes the NFL success Alabama has. How couldn't you? Putting out so many guys into the first round of the NFL draft, 31 plus since Saban took over and since 2009, astronomical numbers. Not only does he like the prospect of Alabama, the prospect of being able to be taken to another level, in his words, he likes Coach Freddie Roach. He likes Jay Valai. And Alabama has worked hard to establish roots in Texas, with Svoboda taking South Texas, Jay Valai being very proficient in North Texas. We see him after guys such as Evan Stewart and now Abor. You have to like where Alabama's at, just like you have to like where all these institutions are at based on how he's talked about them. And he was very adamant on saying that this is a wide open process. All of these schools are in it. But aside from the prospect of being developed by Alabama, he also talked about being developed into a man by the Alabama Crimson Tide. He said that he thinks Alabama gives him a great opportunity to succeed, not only in football, but in life, not only through the football program, through the teachings, through the process, but also through the educational aspects of Alabama, which was really awesome to hear. If you're an Alabama fan like myself, you have to be very excited about that prospect. And this is going to be one of the most intriguing and fun showdowns to watch. And I know I say that a lot, but it's because I love watching the recruitment process. I love watching all of this, seeing where these guys ultimately end up playing college football. It is incredibly fun to me, and this is going to be a guy that is very memorable in his process, because we have yet another matchup of the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Oklahoma Sooners, the Texas Longhorns, and the USC Trojans, with Georgia mixed in there, to see who gets this 5-star talented defensive end. But I cannot wait to hear what y'all are thinking. Hop down to the comments, let me know. That's it. See ya.